this part.
I know. I'll explain it again.
I'll try to get it fixed.
All right, so we were talking about the structure of contractile protein. There are two contractile proteins that are there in our muscle. There is actin and there is myosin. Now, actin is a thin filament that we call, right? Now, remember that actin is like, imagine it like a big chunk, which is made up of many little chunks. Now, those little chunks of that actin is called as the filamentous actin because it is filament-like. But these filamentous actins, they are made up of globular actins. So it's like many globular actins come together, they make up the filamentous actin. And when many filamentous actins come together, they make up the whole entire actin filament. So when we talk about the actin filament, this is how the actin looks like, the first picture that you see, wherein these two helical, like if you remove all of them separately, you will have globular actins, but when they are joined together, that is the filamentous actin. And when filamentous actins are together, we call it as the normal actin filament. Now, running through it is another layer of like protein, which we call as tropomyosin. Okay, so it runs throughout the entire length of the filamentous actin. And then at regular intervals, there is a trimeric protein, 1, 2, 3. A protein that has 3 subunits is a trimeric protein, which you call as troponin. Now, these troponin, they contain different binding sites. Like all the 3 circles, they are present for different like things to bind. Okay. So whenever the troponin is resting, whenever the muscle is not contracting in that case, what happens is that the troponin, that trimeric protein, it will be covering or sort of like layering up or masking the binding site for myosin. Like for example, if this is actin filament, okay, here there is the presence of binding site. So on the actin filament, there is a binding site for another contractile protein, which is myosin. But right now, the muscle is not contracting, so they don't have to bind. So there is a mask of troponin covering it. Clear? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
After that, there comes the next filament, which is a thick filament. It is also a polymerized protein, which is made up of several monomers. Polymer are made up of monomer. So myosin is made up of several units of meromyosin. Clear? Now, the meromyosin, it has 2 parts, the head and the short arm, and the second part is the tail. You see in this picture, see. The head and the cross arm, okay, these 2 parts, and then there is the tail. So this tail portion is lighter in weight, so you call it as light meromyosin. The head along with the cross arm or short arm is called as the heavy meromyosin. Clear? In terms of its weight. Now, what happens is that the head, it is a globular structure, globe-like structure, and the head along with the short arm or cross arm is called as the heavy meromyosin. So the tail is lighter, so we call it as light meromyosin. Now, this head and the short arm, it projects outwards like this. It's like, for example, if this is the tail portion, so this is the head and the cross arm. So it will always be projecting outwards. Clear? Now this globular head which is there, it acts like an ATPase enzyme, meaning that it has binding site for ATP and active sites for actin. So remember I told you that actin has a site wherein the myosin will come and attach like this. Okay? And the myosin attaches like that with the help of the enzyme that it releases, that is ATPase enzyme. So the structure is clear to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any doubt? Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. Now let us see how does the process of muscle contraction take place. So if anyone would ask you, like we have so many different theories for everything. So when we talk about muscle contraction, the theory that would explain the muscle contraction is called as the sliding filament theory. Okay. Now, according to this, the thin filament slides over the thick filament. This is what this theory says. All in all, the basic conclusion is that the thin filament will be sliding over the thick filament. Now, see. Here you have to study some more words like motor unit. What is a motor unit? You people remember there are different types of neurons, sensory neuron, motor neuron, association neuron. So those motor neurons and the muscle fibers, they together make up the motor unit. Okay, meaning the neuron that comes from the brain and the fiber of our muscle, that makes up a motor unit. Another thing is neuromuscular junction. The junction between the motor neuron and the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber. What is sarcolemma, students? Do you remember? What is sarcolemma?
Ma'am, it's the cell membrane around the skeletal muscle
Yes,
fiber.
very good. Yes, the plasma membrane of the muscle fiber is the sarcolemma. That's just the other name. The meaning is same. So that junction is called as a neuromuscular junction or motor end plate. Now see, whenever our muscle has to contract, like for example, if you people do any kind of motion, like for example, if I'm picking up my hand, so I'm while I pick up my hand, or like how I show you pictures or demonstrate with the help of my hand, before doing this, I think, isn't it? We think that, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put my hand up like this and that. So that is a signal that is sent to our brain, and then our brain sends a signal back to our muscles through the motor neuron. Clear? And that is how the process of muscle contraction is started or initiated. So when that signal coming from the brain, it will reach the neuromuscular junction, a neurotransmitter will be released called as the acetylcholine. Now you people remember acetylcholine? The end portions of the neuron, they release this neurotransmitter. If you remember that chapter, control and coordination, class 10th. So this acetylcholine, it generates an action potential in the sarcolemma, meaning it sort of makes the plasma membrane of the muscle fiber charged up. Okay, it makes it charged up. And now this signal is spread throughout the muscle fiber. And because the signal is spreading, now from our sarcoplasmic reticulum, the calcium ions will be released. Because the calcium ions, they are very, very important for muscle contraction. So that calcium ion is released. So up until now, are you people following me? You want to make a move, your brain thinks it, the brain sends the signal back to the muscle fiber with the help of motor neuron. That signal reaches the neuromuscular junction, as a result of which the neurotransmitter acetylcholine is released. Now, when the acetylcholine is released, it makes the sarcolemma, which is the plasma membrane of the muscle fiber, sort of get charged, and that spreads the information throughout the muscle fiber, because of which calcium ion. Is this much clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when the calcium increases in our body or in the muscles fiber or in that area, now that calcium goes to bind with one subunit of the troponin. So those three things that we saw, one of it could bind with calcium. So the calcium came and binded with that. Because of which the masking of the active sites for myosin is now removed. Because you know that the actin, it had the binding site for myosin, and on top of that, it was masked by the troponin. So when the calcium came and attached to the troponin, now the troponin is attached with that, and now this is open. The mask that was there, it is now removed. Now you know the globular head of the myosin, it has energy, it has ATPase enzyme. So it releases energy like because of ATP hydrolysis, like it breaks down ATP, gets the energy and goes and attaches with the actin. Clear? So now the actin and the myosin, they are forming a cross bridge. They have attached. Now, due to the formation of this cross bridge, the actin filaments, they are pulled towards the center of the A band. A band is the thick band or the thin band?
The thick one.
Thick band.
Thin
So,
band.
A band is the thick band. I band is the thin band. So, A band is here. The actin is here. Now, because of the contraction, they will be pulled towards that like this. So, they will be pulled like this. Yeah, this is what sliding filament theory tells us. Okay, it tells us that the actin filaments, they're sort of pulled towards the center of the thick band, right? And as a result, you people remember the two Z lines that form the sarcomere, so they are also brought closer. So always remember, during the muscle contraction, the sarcomere shortens. The successive part between, like the part between two successive Z line was the sarcomere. So when the actin was pulled, the sarcomere is also pulled, and this is how the muscle contracts. Is this clear, students?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So now during the muscle contraction, this is very important, the length of the I band reduces. Why? Because it is being pulled towards the middle of the A band. The length of the A band remains the same, nothing happens to it. Okay, and the sarcomere shortens. These 3 points you have to remember. They are asked in the MCQs. The length of the I band reduces, the length of the A band stays the same, and the length of the sarcomere reduces. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Now, once the ATP is finally hydrolyzed, ADP and inorganic phosphate will be released, and now the myosin will go back to its normal state, and the whole entire contraction will be start to like going back to the normal state. So during the relaxation of the muscle, so after contraction of the muscle, the calcium now no more needed, it goes back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. When the calcium is removed or reduced in number, then the troponin which was there binding with the calcium, now it has nothing to bind with. So now the troponin will again come to mask the actin, as a result of which myosin cannot bind with the actin again, and the muscle will now relax. Are you people getting the whole entire concept?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So now during the relaxation time, the Z lines that were shortened, now they will go back to the normal state. The I band will go back to the normal state. And now we say that we are in a relaxed state. So this is how the process of contraction of muscles and relaxation of muscles take place. Now see, many a times due to repeated activation of the muscle, like for example, if you keep running a lot for a long period of time, or if you, have you people done that exercise wherein you stand on your tippy toes and then come back, tippy toes and come back, that exercise? When you do it for a long period of time, you feel like your muscles are cramping, isn't it? You feel like your muscles are stiff and hard. Why does that happen? Because when we exercise a lot or when we run a lot and we are not used to it, so in our body, CO2 gets like oxygen doesn't reaches, as a result of which what happens? CO2 sort of accumulates, right? So because of that, the accumulation of lactic acid takes place because anaerobic respiration happens in the absence of oxygen. The glycogen gets converted into lactic acid. And this is why we get the muscle fatigue. Now remember that in our muscle, just like how we have pigment in our blood, that is hemoglobin, that makes the blood red in color, same way the muscle cells also contain a red color pigment, which is called as myoglobin. The globin of the muscles is myoglobin. Globin of the blood is hemoglobin. Now there are two types of muscle fibers, red muscle fibers and white muscle fibers. Now when the myoglobin content will be high, then it would be red in color, and those muscles will be red muscle. When the myoglobin content will be low, then that would be the white muscle fiber. Remember that in red muscle, mitochondria is more in number because it can use a lot of oxygen and help in ATP production. But in the white muscle fiber, mitochondria is less in number. Amount of sarcoplasmic reticulum is low in the red muscle fiber and it is high in the white muscle fiber. When we talk about the red muscle fiber, because they have myoglobin, which contains the oxygen, so these are the aerobic muscles, whereas the white muscles are called as the anaerobic muscles. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
The examples of the red muscle fibers would be extensor muscle of human back, eyeball muscles of humans would be the example for white. These the muscles that are present in the white parts of our eye. That is the white muscle. Now you people might have noticed that the white muscles that are there, like for example, you can keep your eyes open for a longer period of time, isn't it? That is because of the presence of white muscles. So is this clear, students?
Yeah.
So
Yes, ma'am.
this up until now, whatever you have studied, it is all there is to know as far as the muscles are concerned. Now we are actually going to move towards the fun part of the chapter, that is the skeleton part. Okay, so when we talk about a skeleton, so we are now concerned with the bones that are there in our body. So our bones, there are 206 in number. Okay, now see, after this, I will be using the NCERT to explain you the whole entire system because there's nothing extra I could tell you. The number of bones that are there, that will never change. See, our whole entire skeletal system, it has been divided into two parts, axial and appendicular. Axial skeleton, it is the part that contains our skull, our vertebral column, our ribs, and the sternum. Okay, and the skull also contains the facial bone, the skull bones, then ear ossicles and hyoid bones. But when we talk about the appendicular skeleton, so they contain our limbs like forelimbs, hind limbs, and they contain our shoulder girdles and the pelvic girdles, meaning the part through which the limbs are attached in our body, that part. Clear?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now you people note down till here. Then we'll start with the skeletal system. Any doubts up until now, students? Anything you people want to ask me?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So this actin was completed. Did you people draw the diagram as well?
No.
Okay. Okay. You draw the diagram as well because these diagrams, all the 4 diagrams are very, very important for your understanding also as far as
Done.
Everyone's done till here?
Yes, ma'am. I'm done.
Done? Everyone's done? Yes, students, all of you are done. Shall I scroll down?
Yeah, I'm done. Ma'am, what does polymerized mean?
Polymerized means that it is a polymer which is made up of several monomers. So when several monomers are attaching together, it is making up a polymer by the process of polymerization. So it is a polymerized protein. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Done, students?
Done.
Yes, ma'am. Mom, done.
Everyone's done, students?
Yeah.
Can you scroll up to muscle contraction 1 minute? I got disconnected. Thank you, ma'am. You can scroll down.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
I'm done.
Understand, student?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm done.
Everyone's done, student? Shall I scroll down?
Yeah. I'm done. I'm done.
Mom done.
Is everyone done? Also, do you people have any doubts up until now? Anything that you were writing and you did not understand?
No, mom.
Okay, everything
What's
is
the full
clear up
form
and
of ADP?
yes, dear.
What's the full form of ADP?
ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. When you add another phosphate to it, it becomes adenosine triphosphate. That is ATP. Okay.
Yeah.
Mom done.
Done, students?
Yeah.
Mom.
All right. Okay. So let's just keep it till here only for today's class. In the next class, we'll begin with the skeletal system and hopefully end this chapter. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Good
All right.
Ma'am,
Okay.
good night.
Good night, everyone.